Today, I'm going to be talking about mortgage fraud. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to prevent people from falling into these schemes of mortgage fraud. It can get you in a lot of trouble, and there's a lot of people pushing it for monetary gain. So first and foremost, what is mortgage fraud? Mortgage fraud is when one person or a company takes advantage of another person in order to get a mortgage or refinance a mortgage. So either they're taking money out of the mortgage or they're getting a mortgage on a property, putting it in their name or putting it in your name and owning that property. So basically, people are being taken advantage of every day. I know in the municipality I'm in right now, I've seen mortgage fraud on a very high level where there are people literally making fake documents in order to get approved for a mortgage. It is absurd. Mortgage brokers are doing it. Banks are doing it, real estate agents are pushing it. So there's a lot of things going on. Now, I'm not saying that all of these professionals are bad, so don't attack me right now. Chill. Most of the real estate professionals, mortgage professionals, banking people, appraisers, all of the people that could be involved, accountants that could be involved in mortgage fraud, most of them are good, but there are the very few out there that are just trying to scam the system and take advantage. And that's what I'm trying to prevent. So to get started on this, I'm going to talk about how long you can go to jail for in Canada if you do mortgage fraud. So you can go to jail for up to 2 years if you are involved in a mortgage fraud scheme. In the hindsight and how much money people are making, a lot of people are willing to take that risk. It's worse in the US. You can go to jail for a very, very long time in the United States or even in the UK or Australia if you do mortgage fraud. So who's committing mortgage fraud? Number one, people that are committing mortgage fraud are banks, investors are committing mortgage fraud. Accountants are committing mortgage fraud. Some mortgage brokers are committing mortgage fraud. Real estate agents are committing mortgage fraud as well. So all of these people can be involved in committing mortgage fraud. If you feel like you're in a fraudulent situation, please feel free to give me a call anytime. Call your local real estate board, call the police, try to find out if you are involved in a mortgage fraud scheme. How are some mortgage brokers and bankers committing mortgage fraud? Let's go into this first. So one thing people are doing is they're creating fake documentation. So sometimes real estate agents will tell a client that, okay, I'll get you approved for this mortgage. And the people are going, well, how can I get approved for the mortgage? My bank already signed me. And the real estate agent may create fake documentation. So they may create a fake T4, they may create a fake notice of assessment, a fake employment letter. Who knows? But this is being done by mortgage brokers. Some of them, it's being done by real estate agents, accountants, whole bunch of different people are creating these fake documents in order to get people approved for the mortgage. Now, there are ways for the banks to check this. And that's the thing that you got to watch out for. So you definitely shouldn't be involved in a mortgage scheme because you can go to jail. It's a huge hit on you. But there are people that are doing fake documentation. So that's the number one way people are committing mortgage fraud. Just the other day, I called into the manager of the company that I'm with, and I let him know that there is another broker in the city that I'm in that is committing mortgage fraud. So they're creating fake documentation. So I told on them, and the local real estate board is dealing with them. They're definitely going to get their license taken away. Do not want consumers getting involved in mortgage fraud. People are doing mortgage fraud is straw buyers. So that's basically when a person, let's call him Joe Blow, goes and sources, can't get approved for a mortgage, Joe Blow, but they go and source another person to put the mortgage in their name. So that person provides their employment letters, pay stubs, all of that, and co-signs and goes on the loan in the place of the main investor. But the main investor owns the home. So this person over here is compensated to provide their information. What ends up happening is they don't own the home afterwards, and they can't get any other loans because they're on this mortgage. This person gets to walk away scot clean, and then they own the property. So that's one of the way. Another is refinancing fraud. So when you get an appraiser, or a person would pay an appraiser X amount of dollars to over appraise the value of their home. So let's say a house is worth 100,000, but then the appraiser says it's worth 300,000. The person applies for the loan, gets approved at this higher amount, sucks literally $200,000 out of the property, and then disappears. Okay. So that's one of the big mortgage fraud areas. BMO was involved in one of these mortgage fraud schemes, and it was an absolute disaster. They lost millions and millions of dollars. This is where an employee of theirs went and was committing this form of mortgage fraud. The employee made a ton of cash and disappeared with the money. So be aware that that's one of the things that can happen. Internal bank employees. This would be underwriters approving friends and family. This is another form of mortgage fraud because they may say that they called the employer like they were supposed to, but maybe they didn't do it. And if they didn't do it, that means that they could fluff the income. Another form of mortgage fraud that's also very common is lying about how many properties you have. So there are banks out there that don't report to your credit bureau. If you have a mortgage with one of these banks that does not report the mortgage to the credit bureau, then there's no way of a bank finding out about it. Now, that being said, you may have claimed this property at some point on your taxes. It may be sitting on your credit bureau as just an address, but maybe the mortgage is not reporting. So the bank could potentially find out about this. There are situations where they don't want you to disclose every property, but we can talk about that in another video. But for the main purpose of this, you do have to disclose all of your properties to a bank, because they have to factor in things like your mortgage payments into your debt, your utility costs into your debt, the rent amount that you'll be receiving positively into your assets. So there's good reason to report all properties. About where the down payment is coming from. That's another huge form of mortgage fraud. So a lot of people are getting lines of credit. The line of credit is not reporting to the credit bureau in the first 2 or 3 weeks of having the line of credit. And then they transfer that money into their savings account to show the bank that here's my down payment. Unfortunately, you can't do that unless the bank knows about it. So if you told the bank, yeah, I'm taking the money from my line of credit, then they're going to debt service the debt amount. So let's say your down payment's 10 grand. So you put 10 grand on your line of credit. They have to debt service that $10,000 into your liabilities. So you get approved for less if you use borrowed funds, your mortgage. Anyhow, where the issue comes into play is when people don't say, I'm getting it from my line of credit, and they say, I'm getting it from my brother or sister, and then they just deposit the money into their account. If you get caught, you'll lose the mortgage, and it is a form of mortgage fraud. I think people are doing is getting money from out of country, getting money from people that want their money out of other countries, India, China, who knows? Like it could be literally any country, but you can't just go and get money from out of country and say that this is a part of my down payment. Everything has to be disclosed. Promising mortgages or land to individual investors. So there are companies out there I've seen in the last few years that will that they're going to set you up with a mortgage, and then you're going to own this plot of land, and they're going to carry the financing for you. You just have to give them $100,000 down payment, and then you don't have to qualify for the mortgage. So there was one called Titan in the municipality that I'm in. And basically, what they ended up doing is they collected millions of dollars in deposits from people. And they told them that there was this massive plot of land. They were going to develop it into a residential area. And then the property values were going to go up as they sold lots. And so people thought, okay, I'm guaranteed like a 15% rate of return. Unfortunately, what happened is the company, they took all that money. They never actually owned the land, and they don't have the right to put mortgages on this because obviously there was no land that existed. They just took the money and disappeared. This actually happened to people I know. So, two people I know were investors into this scheme, and they lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was an absolute disaster. It changed their life. Don't get caught in that. Moving clients' conditions on a home build. So recently came across a real estate agent. She went and she got an immigrant to put a huge $100,000 deposit on a property. They were not pre-approved for a mortgage, and unfortunately, the people are going to lose their deposit because they cannot get approved for the mortgage. The credit's not good enough. They don't earn enough income. So don't always listen to what somebody else tells you. Listen to what your mortgage broker tells you and get it in writing so that you have recourse to go back to court. Don't get caught in these mortgage schemes. So there's always new scams going on. Make sure you talk to your local real estate board and to the police if you feel like you're seeing any red flags. Guys, my name is Sean Rampersad. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you want more great financial and real estate advice. Thanks for watching.